Hello, and how are you? My name is Mohino Bark, and I welcome you to our 17th class of learning how to make mobile applications using Flutter. If you remember, in the previous classes, we covered these different topics, and right now we are at this level where we can create a local database and then insert there some data and then retrieve data from that local database and display it. So this time we are going to see how we can proceed from there, and we're going to exactly look at how we can delete the data that is in the local database, update it, and also maybe perform some extra querying SQL, such as selecting with where condition, adding the limits, etc. So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to just go advanced and make sure that we complete this topic of offline database or local database in this video. So with that much said, you're going to go straight to our today's business and proceed. Okay, so let's get started right now. So we have our timer here that we always use to count 60 minutes, so that after 60 minutes make sure that we are done with what we are planning to do, what we're planning to cover. So let me make sure that people are there. Here. So with that said, yeah, so with that said, let's just get started, right? So here we have our emulator, and then here we have our project. So let's begin by clicking here to create a table. So when you click a table, sorry,
I have a question.
So when we come here and click on run, we should be able to do what? To see what is in the console. So if I clear the console and I click here, let me put this guy, I don't know where I should put it. I think I should put it here. So when I click on run, you should see that the table should be created successfully. I think I removed that point. So let's go ahead and add something in the table by clicking to insert, and then we can maybe I can add here, for example, drunken master, and then put here Jackie Chan, and then put the category, it's action movie, and then save. So it has been saved. So we can add another movie, The Sun, and then we can put here title, maybe it was made by James, and then you can put it is drama movie, so it has been saved successfully. Let us put another one. We can put maybe avatar, and then we can put the actor, maybe John, and then maybe it is sci-fi, and save. So the movie has been saved. So you can see here that you have 3 records. So I hope you were there in the previous lectures how we did all these processes of making sure that you can save the movie up to this point. If you're not there and you feel like you're not understanding anything, then I recommend you to watch at least the previous 3 lectures. 3 lectures, so you can understand how we came up to this point where we were able to insert a movie into the database. So after inserting the movie, we can come here to to select. Okay, so when I click on select, I should be able to see the movies in my table here. I mean on my list. So that can prove to me that the movies were inserted successfully. If I want to add another one, I just simply click on plus here, and then maybe I can add another movie like Things Fall Apart. I don't know if that's a movie. Okay, so I can say maybe the actor is Peter, and maybe it's a love story, and I save. So if I come back here and I reopen here, I should be able to see that movie. So I'm able to see the movie. So at this moment, we are going to learn how we can delete something from a local database, something very simple. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that logic. Okay, so I'm going to let me put here my console. So I'm going to put a listener that if someone clicks on this button of delete, we should be able to know that someone wants to delete an item X. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we'll come to this section of get data from tables. So we'll come to that screen. I think it is come to lib, then come to screens, then come to database. I think it is this one. Get data. Database screen. You have certain. I think this one. Database select screen. This one. So let's go ahead and put a listener to this delete action. So look for the delete action. The delete button, it is here. So we're going to put here, when someone clicks here, we should do the logic of what? Of deleting. So to do that, we can either do it directly, or we can write here a method that will be handling that. Okay, so let us write a method that will handle the delete. So it means that this method will have to receive the item that is supposed to be deleted, which is going to be a movie model. So I can put here do delete, maybe something like that, on delete anything. So I can put here it will receive the item that needs to be deleted, and I can call it item. And then after, we can maybe first put something in console to see if we are clicking on right things. So I can put here print and say deleting, and then I list here the title of something that we need to delete, like this. So deleting that item, like that. So I put here a semicolon, okay, and I save. So let me go ahead and call this method when someone clicks on this button of delete. So I'll come here, the on delete button, which is in trailing, and then when someone clicks, I'll call this guy. Okay. So I'll go ahead and pass this item that someone is focusing on at this moment, and we pass the model that is supposed to be deleted, this one here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see, okay, if this one is working right. So I'll clear everything. So when I click on delete, you see deleting things that fall apart. Okay, so I'm able to know the specific item that I need to delete. So let us go ahead and now do the real logic of deleting an item. As I told you, it is better to organize your things in form of modular. So in case you have anything to update, you update it only in a single file. So since we have this model of movie, so it means that also the logic of deleting this a movie should be within that particular model. So we're going to come to this model of a movie and add the delete the delete method. So I'll come to my project, and then I come to my models, and then I come to the movie model, and then I'm going to add there a method that will handle the deleting logic. Okay, so I can come here and just maybe I can duplicate even the one of selecting or any, but let me just go ahead and create a fresh one. Okay, so I'll come here and create that model. I'm going to call it delete item. So since it will be called on an item that is already existing, so we don't need to do what to receive an item. It's already on that particular item that will be about to be deleted. So I'm going to put the logic of deleting. So if you want to delete an item, you can come here to documentation and get the straight code, which is SQLite, and then come to the first search result, and then come to the documentation. So here the documentation, just simply search the word delete, and you can see this is how we delete. So there are three ways how you can delete. You can either write your SQL, or you can use this prepared statement. I think using this prepared statement is the better way, but you can simply search delete, and then you'll see different ways of deleting. There's this prepared statement, and there's this one where you can delete a bunch of things. Okay, for example, this one you can delete from a specific table with a where condition that is already there. So let us use this method. So the first thing, I'll first make sure that my database is open. So I'll call this guy this. Okay, so I'll say db.await, so it's going to be a synchronous method. So db equals to await open database, and I pass how we open the database. So I can check if the database is not open, I return, because if it's not open, then it means that it will not be successful anyway. So I'll put if db is open, and then I put here not. Okay, and then I'll say if it's not open, it should what? It should maybe print and say failed to open database. Okay, and then here it should return. So in case it fails to open the database, it should return without even proceeding. So let me put here print and say maybe a time to delete. Okay, here just to show that it is ready to delete, and then I comment this for now, so that we see if we are on the right track. So this is inside the inside the delete the delete model. So let's go ahead and call this delete item on the model that we need to delete from the screen. So I'll come here to my screen. So when someone click on an item and they try to delete, I'll call the item dot delete. So dot delete item. Remember, I've already created this model. Dot delete item. So I can delete this guy. So here it is where we'll call, like we're trying now to do what? To delete. Okay, so let's do that. So I'll save, and then if I click on delete, you see time to delete. So it has successfully started open the database, and it is ready to do what? To delete. So now let's go ahead and do the logic of deleting. So to do the logic of deleting, we'll come here, we'll come here, we'll come here, and then here, and then we'll delete. Okay, so as I showed you, to delete, you just simply write, can remove this return if you don't want. I just simply say db that you've opened to delete, and then you pass here the table that you need to delete from. Okay, so remember our table is here called table name. Okay, inside this method. So this is the table name of what? Of movies. So I put there deleted from table name, and then I put where condition. So the best way to identify, of course, is through using id. So I'll put here my id, which is going to be, so you write where, and then you pass an open string with the item and then a question mark. So a question mark is where the where argument will be replaced. So I pass the where condition, so I'm going to put here the item.id. Just put id like this. So since it is already the same item. Okay, where sorry, I have to do like this. This was supposed to be the column itself. So where id equals to question mark. So this question mark is where is what to replace in this where arguments. So the where question mark, and then you say where arguments, and then you put here a list. So if you maybe want to put another constraint, maybe like name, so it should be like in kind of what, say maybe and something like that, and then say name, and then put question mark equals question mark. So here it will be when you're combining the two conditions. So here I'm just making it simple where, and then you put the item. Okay, so I can put here, maybe can surround it with try and catch. Okay, and then say try, and then I put it here, and catch, and then I put here the catch. So I can say put here, I can say now print, and then say failed to delete because, and then I put here the reason why it failed to delete. Okay, or else I can come here, I can put here when it reaches here, so it will successfully delete. So I can say print, and then say successfully deleted, like this. Okay, so there we can know that something has been successfully deleted. So I save, I come now here. Let's go ahead and now delete our items. All right, so I'll clear the console, and then I click on delete this movie, tap. So successfully deleted. So you may see on the screen it has not updated. Why? Because we've not done the logic of updating the screen. But if I delete, you see it is being successfully deleted. So if we come back and open the screen, you'll see the movie was deleted. So we want to do that logic, like once we delete, it should update the user interface. So let's go ahead and do that logic. So I'll come here. Let me comment this guy. I don't need it. Okay, let me come here to database select. So when you finish, you should do what? You should update the screen. So if you still remember, we have our init method, this one, and this one was working on getting movies. So it will get the movies afresh and then update the screen. So we have to call this method after deleting. So let me go ahead and call this method, this one, after delete. The method of updating the screen, I'll have to call it again after deleting. So I'll come and put here. So since this is a synchronous method, it may take time, so I have to put await. Otherwise, it will skip it, and the user interface may not notice. So I'll have to put await, and then here I have to put get movies so that it can update the screen. So that's it. So let's try to delete. It deletes and then it updates the screen straight away. That's so beautiful. Okay, so if I click here delete, it deletes and then updates the screen. So if I add another movie, maybe the good, the bad, and the ugly. So maybe it was made by Steve, and then can come maybe it's comedy save. So if I come back and I try to refresh, you'll see my movie has done what? Has been added. So if I dare to click here, it will do what? It will delete it. Okay, so that is how we delete items from what? From database, and that's a good practice that you use to delete item from what? From database. So I hope you've understood how that can be done. If you have not, then please pause the video and watch that place again, and make sure that you're on the same page with me. Okay, so that's how we delete. So the next thing is now how can we update the data that in the database. Okay, how can we update the data that is in the database? All right, let us go ahead and work on that logic. You remember here we have our item of delete of editing. So I'm going to do that logic of what? Of editing an item and make sure that it does what? It does update the one on what? In the database. So let us go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that, right? Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to put the logic here of editing. So when we edit, I want this information to be loaded in this what? In this screen. I say when I want to edit a movie, I want this information to be loaded in this what? In this screen. So that I just change only what is necessary. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we can do that logic. So if you want to pass the data, so you can mute your microphone. Is it Conrad? So I want to, when I edit, I should be able to do what? To modify the data here, right? And I want this data. Someone should mute their microphone. Conrad, mute your microphone. Okay, I've muted you. Hope. So if I want to edit this information, I'll want, when I click on edit, it should load it in this. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's okay. I'll make sure that I click on edit and then it loads in this same form. Okay, so there are things that you may need to learn. So we should not have a different form for editing, a different form for what, for updating. Okay, so I'm going to do what, to do that logic, right? I'm going to do that logic of making sure that I pass this object to delete function. So let's go ahead. I'm going to edit a screen, the same screen for adding. We're going to pass there the information and put there the information of updating. So let's see how we can do that. So you can see here we have edit. So in this edit button, I'm going to put a listener that if someone clicks, it should open the add screen and give it the information that we need to do that to update. So I'm going to put the listener on edit. So I'll come to our screen, and then I'll come, it's going to be like delete, but it's going to be for editing. So I can just simply copy this and then say, I call it just do edit. Okay, do edit. Only that I will make sure it is like this. Okay, so it does not really call the delete. So I'm going to come to now edit and pass to it. I'm going to come to edit button and call this do edit method. So the edit button is here, and then I pass here. I call this method of do delete, of do what, of do update. So I pass the item that we are focusing on at this moment. So here, right here. So I want, when you want to edit, it should open the what, the screen for what, for adding. Okay, so let us see that screen of adding. How can we open it? This is how we open it, right? This is how we open it. So I'll copy this part and then come and paste it here in the do edit method, right? So there we go. Now I will need like so let's go ahead and try it. Okay, this is for DB insert. So if I click on DB insert, you see it opens the insert table. Click here, it opens the what, the insert table. But I want this to be called what, to be called edit. Okay, I mean the edit information should come and replace by default. For example, I want to edit this Drunken Master movie. So I want, when I reach here, this Drunken Master information should be here, and maybe here we should see that it is editing, and we want to use the same form. Okay, so you're getting the point. So in that case, we're going to write some extra logic. The first logic that we're going to do, we're going to pass data from this screen of list of movie list, and we pass that data to this screen of what, of insert, or the creating screen. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to pass the information from this side to the other side of editing. Okay, that's what we want to do, so that we should be able to know what you're editing and what you're on. What is it again? Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So if you want to pass the information to the second screen, so it means that the second screen should expect something, right? It should expect something. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'll come to the second screen, which is database insert. So all these tricks, you will need them, right? So I'm going to put here inside this main method, I'm going to put here a variable that is dynamic. Okay, so just simply say dynamic, and then you can call this variable anything that you want. So me, I'm going to call it data. Okay, so it will be receiving maybe data. You can, by default, you can call it, it can initialize it to what, to null, or you can just simply say var like this and then null. So dynamic, it can be anything. So I can remove this constant so that this screen should not limit me. So there we go. Now if I want to receive the data in this second screen, I can just simply put here comma and say this dot data. So is it like that? So it's supposed to be at first, I think. Let me see. Like this. Yeah. So let me see. Every screen that is calling this guy is going to request. Now I want to make it optional. So if I want to make it optional, I think you have to put to make it optional. I wanted to make it optional, so in case for screen which did not have anything to pass, they should not be forced to pass the data. I think we put it here. I think here. I don't know. I think like this. I'm not sure, but we'll see. We'll see if we can be able to receive the data. I wanted to make it optional, right? I wanted to make it optional, so see if I can pass here something. So if I come and put here, yeah, it's like that. Beautiful. So this is how you make it optional. So if the screen has something to provide, it should provide it for data like this. If it doesn't have anything to provide, it should proceed without what? Without providing data. So I hope that is all right. Okay, that's how I made it optional. So if I come and I click on edit, everything is what? Is beautiful. There is no what? There is no error. Click on edit, everything is beautiful. There is no error. Now I want to receive the data from the other side. Okay. So if I want to receive the data from the other side, we'll have to create the initial listener, like the way we did on this side of listing movies. So we're going to create here the init listener. So when the something starts, it collects the what? The data. So let me go ahead and come here and put the on what? Init state. Okay, just write init state. Okay. So init state, I want to call my own custom method for initializing the form, right? For initializing the form. So in case some data came, it should do what? It should feed it in the form. So I want to call it automatically. So if I want to call something automatically when it opens, you put it here. So I can call here I can create my method. I can call it init form. Okay, so to initialize the form, and then I come and define it here. Init form. Just going to be a simple method. Okay, so I can then maybe print here initializing the form. So I want to make sure that it is being called. That's why I'm putting it there. So that's the print. Okay, so I delete, then I click on edit. Okay, so you see initializing form. So but the problem is this method is called one time, so it means that if I want to do another thing and test, I'll go back again and open. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to temporarily attach it on this save button, and then when I finish testing everything, then I'll remove it, right? So let me go ahead and come to this save button, this submit. Okay, I'll submit movie. I'm going to call the method of initializing form, right? And then I put return so that this form is not proceeding from here. And this is just temporary, right? So I want just to test. So when I finish, I'll remove this method, right? I'll remove it from here. So I click. So if I click here on, see, I'm getting initializing form, right? Get it, eh? So let's go ahead and do the logic of initializing form. So the logic of initializing form, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to see if there is some data that has been passed in what? In this variable. So if there is data that has been passed that we expect, then we'll know someone wants the edit. If there is no data that has been passed, then we'll know that someone just needs to what? To do what? To just add new item, right? So I want to do that logic from here. So if you want to access these variables inside this main class, okay? If you want to access those variables, there is an inbuilt variable that you'll have to use to access it. So let me say print, and then say, so if you want to access these variables in the main class, in the parent class, you'll just have to use this inbuilt variable called widget. Okay, so say widget dot. So in say widget dot, you'll see I'll be able to access anything that is passed to this class or anything that is in this main class. So if I say widget, you'll be able to see widget dot what? Dot data. So if I was expecting many things, I could put them inside there, widget dot whatever. So I can say widget dot data. So if I do like that, I save, and then I can click on print. You'll see right now there is null. So there is nothing that was passed to what, to this screen. Let us see again, edit. So null, so nothing is being passed to the screen. I don't know. Let us see why. So let us put this to data. Now let us pass something this screen. I hope. Let's see. And now this is where we are opening. Where is it? Do edit. It is here. Yeah. Do edit is here, and we want to pass now something to the screen that we want to edit. Okay. So if we want to pass that something to the screen, we'll just pass this item. So just simply say data, and then we pass what we want to pass, which is the item. Okay, so we are passing the item to the screen, right? So we go ahead and do that. I hope you've understood that you are passing the item that you want to edit to this screen. So I hope you've understood that, right? So let's go ahead and see and clear everything here. So let's go ahead. So it means that we are saying this data should have this item that we want to edit. So in this screen, this data should be having this item. So here in the init, we should be able to access that, at least that new information. So let's go ahead and do that. Come to item, come to edit. You can see at least now we're having instance of what? Of model. So if I click here, you see instance of model. So now I want to make sure that we now get the item that we need to what? To edit, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that. So you see when I click here, we are calling this one. So the first thing we have to make sure that this data is not null. Otherwise, if you just do things blindly, then you'll end up in what? In errors. So I'll first check if this data is null, it should return. Okay, if widget.data equals to null, it should not proceed with the edit logic, it should return. That's the first step. The second step, I'm going to check if this data that has been sent is really an instance that we're expecting of movie model, right? So if you want to say to check an object if it is of a certain class in that, this is how you do it. Okay, so you'll just simply come and say if widget.data.runtime type. So like this, it will be able to tell you which class or which type of object is this. So there are two ways. You can have the second object and then you compare, or you can just simply turn it to string and then equate it to the name of what of a class that you want to compare with. So here I'm checking if the object that has come is of a movie model. Otherwise, if it's not of a movie model, then it should leave. So let me check. If it's not movie model, you should not do what? You should not proceed, right? So that's how I can do it. So let us see. Here, you remember when you are editing a movie, we are just changing what? We are just changing these items, eh? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that this movie is initialized. This movie that we are editing, that we are adding here. Remember, we had to add this movie, this one, eh? So I'm going to make sure that this movie that we are adding, it is initialized to the movie that we need to edit. So and to do that, we'll have to make sure that it is of the same, it is not null, it is of the same data type, and then I can do what? I can initialize it. My movie. You remember this is my movie. We add it there when we are adding. So I want this my movie to have the value that you want. So I'll say my movie equals to widget.data like this. Okay, maybe I can now update the state like set state. So I'll save. I will come now here in my movie here, the first title, I'll put something called initial value. So that initial value, it will have the initial value that you want, the form will start with, which is going to be my movie dot what dot title. So if this movie has a title, by default it will do what? It should be starting with it. So let's go ahead and start again. You see, my emulator has issues. So when I say edit, you see the movie title has come. Can you see? That's beautiful, right? It is beautiful. So if I come back and I say Drunken Master, you see the Drunken Master has been initialized in what? In the form. Let me come again slowly by slowly how I've been able to achieve that. So I'll come again So here I'm passing to this data, I'm passing data of the item that we need to edit. Then I come this item, I receive that item here. Then I come to in init state, I call this init form init form method. So in this init form method, I first check if this data is not null. If the data is null, I make sure that I just return. I know nothing is going to be edited, right? The second thing, I check if the data that we're expecting is of a movie model. If it is not of a movie model, again we just proceed, we go back, we say it's not editing. So if it is a movie model, we initialize this movie object that we had put the other time, this one, we initialize it, and then we initialize to the what? To the data that has been passed, which you can access through widget.data. So after that, now we make sure that now by initial time, when the form start, it should start with the what? With the values that are inside this my movie model. So by doing like that, we come to the fields now, and we add their parameter that we do not have, which is called initial value, and we pass to it the movie title. Okay, like that. So we come also to the actor, and we pass here the initial value, the actor, okay, which is actor, like that. Okay, so yeah, so that's how we can do it. We can do it. Then the category will always you may find some error. I'll show you the error, right? Let me first put here the category, and I'll show you the error. So I'll put here the category, the initial value of the category, but I'll show you the error that can be caused. So if I come back and I try to edit, you see everything is beautiful, everything is there. Okay, everything is really there, right? It's really nice. Okay, yeah, it's nice. You see, everything is initialized. Only we can change. Yeah, but if I click on add, you see I'm getting an error. I'll explain that error. I'll explain that error and how we can go around it, right? Yeah, at the end of the video. So if I click on edit, everything is kawa, everything is beautiful, everything is being initialized properly. So now the task is now to save the movie, update. Okay, so now since this form is becoming interesting, it's now doing two things at once. The first thing, it is editing. The second thing, it is doing what? It is adding. So we have now two tasks that this form is doing what? Is doing. So I'm going to put the logic to know at the moment, are we editing or we are creating? One of the two. So on depending on those two, we'll be able to know the decision that we can need to do on each method, on each action. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll come here and create my variable. I can call it maybe is creating, or I can call it is editing, one of the two. Or I can call it maybe task, or anything that you want. But for me, I'm just going to call it is creating. Okay, so maybe I can call it is editing. So by default, you're not editing, it is false. Okay, so when shall we know that someone is editing? We will know someone is editing only when we have checked this guy is not null, we have checked the movie's data type, and then we have initialized. Then we'll know, okay, the guy is now what? Is now editing. So we can set it's editing to true only when we have done these processes. So it's editing. So now we have to update the UI accordingly. The first part here, if you're editing, it's not supposed to look insert, it's supposed to be editing maybe the movie, something like that. We can put the movie title there on top. So let's go ahead and do that. So come to insert here. So I want to switch this text. Okay, so if you want to switch the text, if you want to switch a widget in Flutter, you just simply say, you put here your condition. So this is a true or false condition, so I don't need to put maybe equal signs or what. So after putting the condition, you put, after putting the predicate, then you put the question mark, and then you put the colon. So if this condition is true, it will execute this first section. Oh, why? Okay, so I have to remove the constant. Okay, So if this condition is true, it will execute the first section. If it is not true, it will execute the second section. That's how we can check if something is true or false and update it accordingly. So if is editing, I want to show maybe the word editing and then maybe the movie title. Editing, and then maybe I can put the movie title, but you can do your own design. So which is my movie dot title, like this, right? So if I save, let me come back. So when I come is editing, you see editing drunken master, okay? But if I come to add, so you're not editing, forget about the error, but you can see inserting data into the table or creating new movie. Let us call it creating new movie. Adding new movie. New movie. Okay, so if you are adding, you're adding new movie. If you're editing, it says editing new movie. How will we be able to achieve that? Through the processes that I've explained to you. So those small things, that's how you can learn and do even complex things by just learning a few steps. So that's the first thing. So this next thing, maybe I want to change this word. If you're not if you're editing, you should change to update instead of save. Okay, so save movie, it should change to update. This word it should save to update. So I can say save, and instead of editing I can put maybe update. So when it is editing, update movie. So when it is editing, it will be update movie. When it is adding, it will be save movie. It's beautiful. So I can create a special logic for saving a new movie, right? I can create a special logic for saving a movie. So instead of saving movie, I call maybe the one for editing. So you have many ways you can do that. Hey, you have many ways. So I can maybe say here, when someone clicks on this one, I check if it's editing. If it's editing, you should call update. If it is not, then should call the save. Okay, the save movie. So I can call this. I can create now my second method. Call it update movie. Update movie, like this. So let's go here and duplicate this. In fact, you can duplicate the whole of it like this. So I've removed this guy. We no longer need it. The return one. We no longer need it since it can successfully initialize. So I can duplicate this guy. So since update and saving will almost be the same, so I'll come here and change this to update movie, right? So it will be update movie. So let me remove this and list everything. I can then maybe say print and say updating, right, like this. Okay, and let me just return for now to make sure that everything is all right. Return, I save. So if I come back and I click on edit, you can see if I click on update movie, it is calling this one of updating movie, depending on the condition that we put here. So now let's go ahead and now do the logic of updating. So updating, we may need to validate, maybe like the way I did like first time, and then we are going to update the movie. So in something I need to show you, right? So here we are updating, you're not saving, right? So in SQLite, there is that action of updating that you may the database can decide whether it should update or should insert a new item, and that will save you not to do what, to write the same method twice, unless you want to manually update. So I'm going to begin with that one of showing you like the same inserting function should work as the same updating function, right? Updating function. So you see, updating function is exactly like inserting. So we're like just saving, right? Like but I want to show you that in case it is an existing movie, instead of inserting, you should just update it, right? So to do that, it's going to be the same method. It's going to be the same method as in that of inserting. Everything is the same, But here, db insert, we're going to add here another comma, and then put here conflict algorithm method, parameter. Conflict algorithm parameter means that in case there is a conflict, there's an item with the same primary ID, what should be done? Should it replace? Should it ignore? Should it create it as new? That is what the extra method that you will add here. That is a very, very important property, because it will help you not to write the update method separately. Okay, so in case it is existing ID, it has an existing ID, it will replace it or it will update it. In case it is new, does not have an existing ID, it will add it as new. So that's what we call the conflict algorithm. It is an extra parameter that you add. So if you want to see the parameter that it can possibly take, then press Ctrl and click on it, and then you'll be able to see what it takes. Okay, conflict algorithm with capital letter. So I'll come back and say conflict algorithm with capital letter, and then I make sure it is imported. Alt and enter, it is imported, and then put dot. So these are the possible parameters. So they ask you, in case this primary ID already exists on the database, what do you want to do? The first one is replace, so it should be updated, right? The second one is abort. Abort means it should be cancelled, right? And the third one, it should fail, like it should show an error. You're trying to insert the same thing, okay? And the other one is ignore. The other one is roll back, like you should maintain the same thing. So one of these can work for you. So as you can see, the one that we need right now is replace. So if the ID already exists, it should do what? It should be replaced. So that is the one that we do need. So this to JSON, it will convert. Make sure that you also add ID, so that it should also convert the existing ID. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then the ID will do what? Will be like it's not there, and then to create it as a new thing. So this to JSON will convert it item to JSON and then bring it back here. So make sure that you add .id. That ID should now be put into consideration, right? Yeah, right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and update. So I save. We'll add the conflict algorithm. So I come here, Steve. Let me say Jobs. Steve Jobs. I clean, and then I save. You see, it was saved successfully. I hope it was not added. You see. Now let me show you one thing. When I say save, you see the ID is 5. So because I have 5 items, even when I again say save, the ID remains 5. So it means that the item was not inserted. It was just what? It was just updated. So if I say Steve Jobs like this, I save, everything is alright. So if I come back, you know the reason why it is resetting, because I put the reset. So if I come back and I click on edit, you'll see, sorry, which was the movie? This one. And put here Steve Jobs. I hope. Save. Let me make sure it's updating. Let's go ahead and reopen. See, Steve Jobs. So only the state is not updating right, but we're going to see how we can work with that state. Okay, so everything is all right. Everything is now all right. If I change the actor, I mean the category, save, come back, delete. Is it this one? This one, right? Even the category has changed. So that is so beautiful. That is one way you can update using the same method. So if we are using the same method, then we don't need even these two methods, right? You'll see everything is almost the same. So we don't need this, like should be called else. See, we don't need that update method, right? we just need this save method. So the save method will figure whether it is an update or it is a what? It is a new entry. That is so beautiful, right? Which error do you have? Save method. There are two. What? Already defined, so I have to delete one. Like that. So the save method will have to figure whether it is a new one or it is something like that. So you see the reason why when we say save it is resets, because I had put this reset here, right? So if you say maybe if it is editing, it should not reset. So you say if is editing, it should not. If it is editing, it shouldn't. If it's not editing, it should reset. So that's how we'll be able to achieve that reset. Okay. So only should only reset when you. So if it's not editing, it should reset. So that's really beautiful, right? That's beautiful. Yes. So lastly, I want us when you click back, this list should update without again us coming back here and she click. So now I want this state to automatically update without even, for example, if maybe I can say maybe snake in the eagle's shadow. Okay, snake in the eagle's shadow. So if I say save, when I come back, I should find this guy as snake in the eagle's shadow, updated automatically. So there we need to go one extra mile. Other techniques that you may need, I have to go one extra mile. So we have to, oh, by the way, you'll have to come and also research about another way how you can update without using that insert. So you can update like this, just db update, and then if you specifically want to update, okay, you can write this way. But the other one, it also works. It updates if the ID is not new. But there are two ways, okay? Okay. So come and search Flutter result screen, something like that. That result screen, Stack Overflow. So this is the result. Let me see. I want to show you something that you didn't know. So this is if you want to wait and see if the navigation is done, you can do it like this. I'll explain it. So I want to come here. So when you click on edit, I want to listen until the guy finishes and comes back. Then I update my screen. Before we're just going there without listening, okay? So I'll come to my database, select, and then come to what? To where is it? Do delete. This is do edit, okay? So instead of just pushing without waiting, I want to listen. When the person is done with this process, I should update my what? My list. So this is how you listen. You just simply add, I think you just simply add await. Is it? Yeah, you just add await. This result, we'll look at it later, but you just simply add await here like this, await. So you have to wait. When the screen is done, you update this data. I mean, you update the, I think that's it. So let us put get movies. So I've just added await here when we call the edit, and when it is done, we call get movies. So I hope that's it. I hope. So let's go ahead and save. So I come and edit, and then I put here full stop. I save. When I click back, the full stop is there. That's beautiful, right? So that is how you can do it. Okay, so I just simply add a wait, so it will wait until this screen is done, and then it will do update. Likewise, remember when you're adding movies, with the movies are not updating on fly. So let us go ahead and do the same. So we go to the add movie. So since this add movie button, it is here inside the what? Inside the widget. So since we cannot do asynchronous within the widget, then we better remove this one and then create for it a special method. So I call it do add movie. Okay, and then I press Alt and Enter to create a method. Okay, so I put there await, and then I make it asynchronous, and then when it is done, I update my movie. So this screen will process. When it finishes, I update the what? Update the movies. Okay, I call this method of updating movies. Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah, that's it. So the other method, if you still remember, we had an error. So when you click on this, it will bring you this error. So where is this error coming from? This error is coming from when you're trying to initialize the select. So this form builder has an issue. May I call it an issue? If you try to put an initial value, where is it? This is the insert. If you try to put an initial value in the drop down, and that initial value is not there. Remember, right now we are adding, so we don't have an initial value. The initial value is empty. Okay, so when you try to enter something that does not exist, what it does, it crashes. Okay, it crashes because it is not in the drop down. Remember, our drop down is of movies, and the movie is not there, so it crashes. So there are two ways you can come across, you can come around it. You can use the patch. So patch method is the one that we use to update the values manually. If you still remember, in the previous class I had to show it. I showed it to you. You can use that patch to first make sure that this category exists before you do what? You edit. Okay? Or you can put the empty category in your list. So come here to movie categories, put that empty screen. I mean empty, like when by default you have an empty space. So when this guy will be feeding there the empty space should be in its place. That is one way you can do it, though it's not the better way. So you have this empty space, right? So I don't know how you can come around it, but that's the whole point. If you try to initialize something that's not there, it will crash. The other way, you may remove this. What is this patch? You may remove this category initial value. Remove it. So anything where there is a drop down, if you put something that does not exist, it will do what? It will crash. So the other way, I think the better way, remove that drop down, the initial value for the drop down. So here, when you're initializing the edit, where is it? When initializing the edit, here, where is it? Here. When initializing the edit, for the case of things that are from the drop down, like the movie category, first check if that movie is in the list of the items that you want. Then you manually put it there. So how do you do that? Just simply come and say, so you remember this is our movie list. Okay, so we come to if app config dot the movie list categories dot contains. So we first check if this guy really is there. Okay, we just first check if it contains, then we manually put it there. So we check if this movie, so if it is empty and is not there, it will ignore. Okay, then you manually update it. If you still remember, we manually update like this using patch. So use your form key. You still remember how you use the form key, and then use category, put here the name, and then category. Update it only when it is in the list. So you do that. That time is up. You do that for all items that can cause conflict, like a drop down. Okay, so that is the second way how I can do it, and I think that's the recommended way. So if I come back and I click on edit, it's not even updating, right? So let us go the other way around. Okay, let us go the other way around of initial value, because you have to wait for the form to finish building. So I'll come this way around, but that's a dilemma that you may also need to figure out by yourself. So I put there the initial value, but I make sure that I have an empty space in my drop down, so that it does not what? Does not crash. So if I come to edit, everything is beautiful. When I come to add, everything is beautiful. So that is it. That is it, right? Everything is, there's no error. So that is how we've come around it. So let us try to see if we can add an automatically update here. I'll come to add, and maybe I can say Pure Love, Nigerian movie by Noah Rams. I don't know, that's the spelling. And then I say maybe it's a drama movie, and I save. So when I save, I can add another movie. So, but if I click back, you'll see Pure Love has been added without me refreshing. So that's so beautiful. We have covered the whole CRUD operation. So for advanced selecting, you can come here and play with them. You can come and read the migration part by yourself. So that is how we can deal with the what? With the local database. Local database is very important for catching the data. This one just using the front side, but when you go to real applications, you will need to catch user data, because a user, whether he's online or offline, he wants to see his things. Whether the network is fast or slow, he wants to see their things. When the network is slow, they want their things to load fast. They don't care about which algorithm you're using. So you will need to load the information from the other side and save them on the database, on the local database. So when this guy is using the application, you just show them what is in the what? On the database. Just like the way how WhatsApp does. Almost every current application, they save the information on your phone, and then they keep updating it in the background. But the information is being fetched from your what? From your phone. So that is the better way of what? Of doing the current mobile applications. The users are no longer patient. Okay, they are no longer patient. So go ahead and practice everything that I've shown you. There are new things that you learn: how to pass data from one form to another, from one screen to the other, how to initialize an existing form, how to update a list from after the screen. All that I've covered them in this video. So please make sure I do a good service to yourself. Make sure that you practice. So in case you're stuck, I will always share my source code. Don't use my source code for laming you by using copy and paste. No, use it when you're really stuck and maybe you want to remind yourself. And the Git repository link will always be in the description of the video. So in the next class, maybe we will start Firebase or anything interesting. But next class we'll have to start with another completely new topic. Then when we cover many topics, and then we'll go ahead and see how we can put this topic together by doing a project together. Like that, you'll get the confidence of saying that I am now a mobile application developer. All that is painful to watch these videos, are boring and practicing, but nothing good comes from nothing. You have to go through pain to get that something good. All right, see you in the next lecture. The time has already gone, so no questions. Goodbye.